Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of It's Your Grade. In today's video, we're going to learn how to name ionic compounds that involve a transition metal paired with a nonmetal. And whenever you see a transition metal, I want you to think about Roman numerals. Transition metals and Roman numerals go hand in hand. If you have alkali or alkaline metals, you do not use Roman numerals. So transition metals, you must use Roman numerals. And what are the Roman numerals for? The Roman numerals indicate the charge of the transition metal. Indicate charge of transition metal. So, for example, you could have iron. We'll just say this is an example. You could have iron plus 2. You could also have iron plus 3. And if you have either of these, you must use a Roman numeral. And the Roman numeral indicates the charge. So iron plus 2, you use the Roman numeral for 2. If you have a plus 3, then you use the Roman numeral 3. And the generic formula for putting together an ionic compound name for a transition metal with a nonmetal, you would have the name of the transition metal, as in the example iron, for example. Then you would have the Roman numeral in parentheses and the name of the nonmetal with, of course, its IDE ending. And there's a video that talks about nonmetals and what their IDE ending looks like. So, for an example, if you were given another different type of example here, we're going to come up with a name for CrBr3. In a previous video, I alluded to when you have transition metals, because a transition metal can change its charge depending on what it's paired with, it's really important that we figure out what that charge is. And to figure out that charge, you need to look at the nonmetal, or rather the anion, because polyatomics will also follow suit, but we'll talk about polyatomic ions and transition metals in a different video. So in this case, we have 3 bromine atoms or ions. And so bromine has a -1 charge, and we have a total of 3 of them. So that means the total charge of 3 bromide ions is -3. So that means that our chromium must have a +3 charge. And therefore, to come up with its name, you would write chromium. And because it's a transition metal, you would write its charge in Roman numeral form, followed by the nonmetal with its IDE ending. So that would be bromide. We can do another example. So we'll call this 1, example 2. This one, we're going to look at copper and oxygen, and we're going to figure out what the name of this ionic compound is. So we know it's copper, and copper is a transition metal, but we're not sure exactly what the charge is of copper right away. We can't figure it out by looking at the periodic table. But we can figure out what oxygen is. In the periodic table, we know that oxygen has a -2 charge. And if oxygen is -2, and there's only one oxygen ion, then there must be a balanced charge on copper, which would make it a +2. So a copper +2, that root part of the name is going to be copper Roman numeral because it's a transition metal. And then oxygen is oxide. So the complete name is copper 2 oxide. And that's a very brief introduction to naming ionic compounds with transition metals and nonmetals. Stay tuned for more naming videos. We will do more examples. Future videos will have 2 nonmetals, how you name that type of compound. We will also review or learn how to work with polyatomic ions, both positive and negative polyatomic ions paired with respective metals or nonmetals. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you understand how to name ionic compounds when there's a transition metal. Remember that if you see a transition metal, you got to use the Roman numerals and you must figure out the charge. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and please leave a comment if you would like to see other videos. Indicate which topic you'd like to see, and I will be happy to start making those videos for you. Happy studying, everyone.